Jupiter is in Capricorn in my birth chart. And I was having this sort of reflection, this sort of insight came to mind, that it's not about the result, it's about the experience. It's not about the result, it's about the experience. I want to share a story. When I was in high school, I think it was within like the first few days entering into grade 9, I booked an appointment with the guidance counselor, and I wanted to discuss my pathway through the next 4 years, because I wanted to, I guess, feel successful, be seen as being successful. And so we discussed that, and I felt good about myself. I was like, well, good job, Ruby, because there was this feeling of wanting to take responsibility for my trajectory, for my growth. Really, there was this feeling of wanting to be in control of my image, in control of myself. But I say in control of my image because the questions I was asking myself, they were related with getting to having some sort of career where people would see me as being successful. In my mind, there was this thought that, well, whatever career I choose, that's going to be it for the next entire, entirety of my life, 40 years, right? Because then that's how kids think, especially back then, I think. But of course, as we know now, as we age, especially in this specific world, that's not how careers work. You could be doing something for a certain amount of time, then you switch to something else. And so I think this sort of insight came up to show me in what ways I continue to take from image, from people seeing me in a certain way, how I want them to see me. This is a bit of an extension of that conversation about Aries intercepted and Libra intercepted. And Libra has so much to do with love. There's a desire that I'm holding on to. I want to feel successful. But it's about the journey, the experience. And the journey, the experience takes so much time. Saturn in Aries wants to rush. And that's squaring Jupiter in Capricorn. Capricorn appreciates time. And there can be a bit of a hesitance with that, because Capricorn appreciates time and taking its time. Jupiter might, it's like the growth can be stalled, right? I think the growth in terms of like growing up, because both Jupiter and Saturn have to do with that. I think the growth can be, it's like Jupiter doesn't know when to expand, when to hold on to the faith, trust in the idea of this beautiful image, beautiful opportunity to grow and expand and such, to mature. Because Capricorn is this energy of restriction. It's this energy of kind of shrinking a little bit, right? It's great though, because it also has to do with like age and wisdom, and so over time one learns. But I think this configuration of the Saturn squaring the Jupiter in Aries and Capricorn, in the first house squaring the 10th house, it speaks to the image of the self evolving with like the image of how like others see the self, see myself, it evolves in tandem with the image of myself, how I see myself. That evolves, that grows, that shifts. When I was a kid, like, just a teenager, learning about Shakespeare, it was always that line with Iago who says, like, oh, my reputation, my reputation, my reputation. That line always, it just stuck with me. I just felt like I could resonate so strongly with that. Because, not that I've read, I don't even remember which play it comes from, but I just remember that resonated with me because there's this feeling about, I guess, a little bit of illusion. But Iago wanting to be maybe like accepted. But the thing is that when we want to be accepted so badly, we maybe try to put on a front, a face, wear a mask that we think others will like, will be pleased with. Right? And that's in the short term. And at least for myself, I don't see how I'm not only deceiving them, sure, but I'm deceiving myself because I'm not seeing my own worth and my own value. I'm deceiving myself because I'm cloaking my identity. I'm not getting to live in my skin, to be myself, to experience and to grow and develop in that way, even though that's my freedom and my right as a soul to experience. And the only way I can experience is in being, right? Being has to do with being present, with being honest, right? We always speak about transparency and authenticity. There's a sincerity in being who I am. And there's a generosity in being who I am. It's a generosity that comes from like the truth of experience, the experience of me. This is what I like to share. This is what I want to share with the world. This is what I've learned. This is what I've experienced. This is what I want to give. This is what I want to gift out. It's all coming from I, the authentic I. But when I'm wearing a mask, then it's all for show. I'm having to read the room and read the expressions of other people and understand social conventions and all this stuff just so that I can try to get by and look like I'm doing what everyone else, maybe not everyone else, but what people who are being more genuine are actually doing, which is experiencing and giving from their hearts, living life and growing. And it's this thing that maybe helps us feel, in kind of the false way, the limited way, safe in the short term, but we end up feeling not safe. We end up feeling insecure, unstable in the long term because we denied ourselves in those years, we denied ourselves the opportunity to learn and to grow and to develop and to become our strong selves, strength, mature selves. And so that's what I see when I look at this square, this aspect of Jupiter Saturn. And it's okay. That's all right. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I know, of course, it's supposed to be Jupiter Saturn, but I'm looking at the birth chart and I'm seeing this opposition to Neptune, Mars Neptune opposition. Well, something that came to light the other day. Neptune, because like Neptune's about illusions, and this is something I was thinking about with Iago, right? Iago, didn't he have like a drinking problem? And Neptune rules alcohol. And it's funny, I was actually thinking about that wonderful film, but the true story of the people who started Alcoholics Anonymous. And I was thinking about how, like, the trajectory of that story, like the movie, they did it in a way where it just feels so long and drawn out. All this time when, the guy is an alcoholic and he's being so disruptive to the life of he and his wife, and the wife just has to go with it. It's the 1920s. What is she gonna do? Even though she comes from a well-to-do family, so she had a support and a way out, I guess you could say, but her devotion was to him. And it took such a long time until we start to see the change, the shift, where they develop Alcoholics Anonymous and the guy is getting off of alcohol. And it's beautiful because I think the audience sees it and the characters see that when we have to separate ourselves from the habits that have been hurting us, it would seem the easiest way to do so is in community, in communion. We have to do it as a group, as a collective. We've got to do it together, because that's the beauty of Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's what we see in the latter part of the story. In the first part of the story, the couple, they're battling this addiction together in shame, and it's very toxic, of course, right? Because they don't know what to do. They're stressed out of their minds and all this stuff. They want to get pregnant and all this stuff is happening. And it's not until years and years later that, I don't remember how it came to be, but they start to see that they're not alone. They're not suffering alone. They're not the only couple in the world who have this issue with alcohol specifically. It's something that a lot of other couples are struggling with. And they didn't realize that. They didn't see that. It was their shame, their burden. Not until it comes to light that that's the case. And so I think it starts with, I don't remember who it starts with, but like the husband starts to speak with a few of his pals, his buddies, about what they're going through with alcoholism, and they're sharing similar stories. And then eventually the wives, for some reason in the movie, it's the wives who aren't really, they're more of the Al-Anon kind of people, right? The ones who live with people who have this issue. And the wives get together, and again, their stories are lining up. It's like, oh, did he say that to you? This is what he did to me, like my husband versus her husband, etc. And it's this beautiful communion. And there was this very beautiful part of the story where, because it's like the dawn is finally breaking, they're seeing that the darkness is coming to an end. And they're lying in bed at night. And it's beautiful because the wife, the one that everyone sees, and even her herself saw as, I'm the one who has to deal with this. I got to deal with the chaos he's bringing into my life. Woe is me, but the cross I have to bear, etc. And and the husband is very much thinking, yeah, I'm the one who's the issue. But the wife, in the middle of the night, she wakes up and she's like contemplating, and she thanks her husband. She thanks him. And she thanks him because of what their journey and everything that he's been going through has been teaching her. It's this beautiful point of humility. She's seeing that his issue is her issue. And not in that, again, cross I have to bear, martyr, I guess we could say, the false Neptunian kind of way. She sees over time, it's a very Neptune and Capricorn kind of thing, right? Because it took years for them to get to this spot, to dispel the illusion of the darkness. But she sees that truly she has so many issues that are so related to the issues that he sort of, I guess we could say, performs more so on the physical level. But she's doing the same thing. She's like, I got those issues too, but it's only because of you that I've gotten to learn this stuff about myself and see how, I can be better for myself. I deserve more. Like she deserves more for herself. And she was thanking him for that. yeah, it's just such a beautiful, like, moment filled with humility, love, respect, compassion. And it felt like the result of their perseverance, their courage. What is it? The courage to be honest. The courage to be honest feels like it has a lot to do with their story. Yeah. Yeah. Neptune is the modern ruler of Pisces. Jupiter is the traditional ruler of Pisces. And for myself, I have both Neptune and Jupiter in the same sign of Capricorn in the 10th house. And so now there's this feeling about maybe illusions being dispelled over the way that my image is projected outwards, over what people see. And maybe it was an image that a false image that I was trying to buy into myself, and that's where all that Iago reputation stuff comes in, all that fear about, I'm going to get found out, people are going to see that that's not me, etc. It feels like this story relates to me in this way, and that I was buying into that, but I'm finally starting to not want to buy into that. I'm wanting to grow in the way that I'm meant to grow, in my purpose. And my purpose isn't about this whole showy me, look at me, look at how normal and successful I am, whatever that's supposed to look like. The journey is actually about going inwards, right? It's in opposition with Cancer. Cancer is in both my 4th and 5th house. It's ruling the 5th house, but it doesn't rule the 4th house. Gemini rules the 4th house. And so, it's like close to my IC. It's at the bottom of the chart, and it's Cancer. So it's depths, emotional depths, it's sensitivity. And I've got Venus there. Venus and Mars are opposing Neptune and Capricorn. And so it feels like this way of, it's weird, like a reflecting back somehow over time. This image being reflected back to me of how I've been presenting myself, but really seeing that there's something deeper, It's in the 5th house. Yeah, it's in the 5th house. That's the house of performance. So there's something deeper. Venus represents, in this case, myself in the birth chart, because I'm in a female body. But there's something deeper, and we can, this feeling about faith, trust. Yeah, faith and trust. Faith and trust with, I guess the value of my feelings, my emotions, and the value of the soul. The value of the soul. I being the soul. That it's okay. I can explore myself. I can do that sort of self-study, self-exploration. To be motivated to do that, rather than trying to run ahead, jump into, I want people to see me in this sort of way. Again, it's about the experience rather than the result for this soul. It's about the experience rather than the result. And Venus and Mars are making a trine to the ascendant in Pisces. The moon is also in Pisces. And so there's this beautiful harmony, this beautiful gentle flow between diving deep into the emotions of the self, diving deep into the experience of the self, the feelings of the self, like visceral, to how I come off to people, when I first meet them. And it's this beautiful harmony. Like, it feels like that's what's valuable, with the moon being there. Moon in Pisces having to do with, I guess balance as well. Being attuned to my own personal sensitivity helps me be attuned to the sensitivity of others, because Pisces not only feeling what it feels, but it's picking up so much from the collective and the individuals, the souls around Pisces. And being able to, with it being a luminary, the moon in Pisces, to illuminate the same sort of processes for others as well, I think. And it's, it's an opportunity for service is the feeling. Yeah. And so, again, tying back to Jupiter and Capricorn, it's about the experience. Jupiter wants to experience. And then we'll see what that matures into. It's in the sign of Capricorn over time. But just to be more focused on the experience of the soul, spiritual experience, the experience of my identity. Jupiter's trining the sun, and all the benefits that can come through that. Jupiter, ideals, dreams, pie in the sky dreams. It's in the 10th, sometimes the 11th, so that also works with dreams, right? My long-term aims, goals, desires, my good wishes for myself and for others. So with Jupiter being in Capricorn, this desire to belong, I think, is something that's coming up as well. This desire to belong. And how that gets in the way of the maturation of, just the exploration into the self, who I am, right? With Saturn and Aries, because Jupiter is squaring Saturn and Aries. Uranus is in Aquarius. In ancient astrology, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn as well. And in modern astrology, Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. And so it also feels like this conversation about how, and there's a trine to Libra. Okay. About how, in diving deeper into my own sort of the experience of who I am, wanting to figure that out, wanting to learn about that and grow in that way, it can unveil this sort of Uranian, all the beautiful things about the soul that makes the soul special, all the things that make me very unique maybe from others. And maybe that gives me an ability, an opportunity to be detached when communicating with others. Libra, right? Partnerships. Coming to understand maybe difficult things that others maybe don't really want to see in themselves, right? Because it's in the 8th house. But this is also reflecting things about myself that maybe, are also my own shadow traits. So that's when Libra's, Mercury and Libra's in the 7th, right? It's in the 7th when it's Placidus, it's in the 8th when it's whole sign, so both apply. So there's this feeling about that as well. Yeah, unearthing this sort of truth about the soul, who I am, what it is that I believe in, and how this is all part of those good wishes for the soul. I, the soul, myself. It's a beautiful thing, it's a good thing. Instead of wanting to be out there fitting in, right? Capricorn, having this desire to fit in with everyone and etc. By having a career and, or others feel like, yep, that's good, yep, she's successful, and trying to fool myself, Neptune's also in Capricorn, that's gonna satiate whatever needs satiating inside of myself. Instead, going through the path of self-discovery, of wanting to understand myself, initiating that for myself, and moving forward in that way. There was also a note about sight. Yeah, sight. Wanting people to see me in a certain way. That's again, I think, a bit of a Jupiter and Capricorn in the 10th house thing, wanting to, and Neptune there too, wanting to control an image, and wanting to expand that image, even though that image, it's false. Saturn and Aries calling me out. And that's what I was trying to do with the guidance counselor. I wanted him to see me in a certain way. But it's important for me to see me, to experience me, to understand me, so that I can grow